If you're serious about boutique hotel investing, a great property alone is not going to do the trick. It's your operations team that makes or breaks you and is your non-negotiable. So without it, you're stuck babysitting problems instead of scaling your portfolio. So today I'm giving you the full blueprint on building the backend ops machine that will let you scale faster and sleep better and make more money. And I'm bringing this to you guys after covering over 70 miles this weekend. It's like 60 plus miles on the bike, I think 14 or 15 miles plus running, all in preparation and training for my half Ironman that's coming up in just a few weeks. And if anybody tells you that triathlons or Ironmans are fun, definitely do not listen to them. My body has been feeling like just crap for like the last month. It's been 6 days a week training, so ready to get through this thing and get done. So it's later in the day because I had to spend 4 hours, doing the training, and then you got to transit back and forth and then shower and then eat and get back the 2,000 calories you burn. So bear with me, but this is going to be a really impactful topic here. And in case you guys don't know me, I'm Blake Daly. I've built 2 boutique hotel companies to multiple 7 figures in revenue. So first I bought 4 hotels and I scaled and branded that portfolio with a partner, and then I sold it and then rolled the proceeds of that into my biggest project yet. It's a 130 unit hotel and resort that now outperforms that entire past portfolio by itself. So everything I share on my channel is based on real world experience and insights from what I've learned doing this a bunch of times on hotel projects. So it's specifically built for serious investors ready to scale. And here's exactly what we're getting into for this video. First, we're going to break down the critical rules that you need to actually run a boutique hotel, whether you're starting with 10 rooms or taking on an 80 unit monster. And second, I'll show you how these roles work together like a machine so you're not stuck in the day-to-day grind. You personally, right? You outsource it to the team, put the right structures in place. And third, and make sure you stay around because I'm going to share the team structure tips that help me scale this multi-million-dollar boutique hotel portfolio so that you can go apply it on your own. All right, so let's start with the foundational operations team. Whether you need a light team or a heavy team depends on the size of your deal. And here's what that looks like. So I like to think of this in terms of the revenue that the property generates more so than the unit count. So I like to think about this and break it into tiers. And tier 1 is one small property that generates less than $500,000 per year in revenue. And that's where you are involved as the entrepreneur, as the business owner, because you don't have enough revenue to scale out a team yet. Now, tier 2 is where you start to get some of that scale. This is where you have 2 properties or maybe 1 larger property, and you're generating $500,000 to $1 million in revenue per year. And now you manage. And then tier 3 is where it really starts to get fun. This is where you get into big properties and portfolios, and you're doing $1 million plus per year in revenue. And now you lead. You lead the team. You are the business owner, right? You lead them. And here's some examples of what that looks like in tier 1 when you have less than 500K in revenue and you're probably sitting at 10 to 20 doors. You can get a lot done with just an ops assistant. And this is what a person on my team who's now my ops manager, she started in this role. I just started handing more to her of the little things that needed to get done, but didn't really take me to do them. And now she integrates the whole back end. So it's a position that scales really easily in your business. You just start to handle them to like your tax payments, your follow-ups, your resolutions, like all the things that have to get done in your boutique hotel or short-term rental business that repeatedly happen. Start to hand to that ops assistant and outsource what you don't need to be doing as the business owner, right? Because your time is worth more. And that person can be managing daily ops coordination, making sure that everything stays aligned and nothing falls through the cracks, right? So think things like your cleaners show up to do their turns, or maintenance tasks are assigned, or guest issues get elevated. So that's what they're going to handle. And then you have your virtual assistants, what we call our e-concierge team. So they handle all of our guest messaging, some other admin tasks. They do our calendar management, scheduling vendors, our back-end logistics, doing our disputes, resolutions, refunds, air cover requests, all that stuff. So think of your VAs as your secret weapon to saving 20 hours per week, potentially more, especially if you have a lot of guests that are very needy and demand a lot out of you and your time. So that's tier 1. Now as we scale into tier 2, we're looking at larger deals with more than 500K, but less than $1 million in revenue. And in that range, you're probably somewhere in that 20 to 50 door range. Probably, 15 to maybe 30, but it depends. So this is where you can start to have higher functionality in your team. And that might look like you have a director of operations. So your DO, or director of operations, is going to handle your big picture leadership. They're going to oversee your back-end operations, set KPIs, and make sure everything is moving towards the business goals, right? So anything that kind of rolls up, I like to think of them as a filter, because in tier 1, you were that person that was handling all that, right? Everything from the business level or the property level came up to you. Now in tier 2, you have a director of operations, potentially a property manager, location manager, whatever you want to call them. It depends on the scope of their position, right? And that'll depend on their pay as well. But now they act as a filter, screening out all those issues, and you can really start to pick off these higher leverage tasks because you have the team that's now starting to focus on more of the day-to-day for you. Now also in this tier 2, you can start to have an e-concierge manager, and this person is 100% focused on guest experience, right? They're making sure that questions are getting answers, problems are getting solved fast, and they're really working to boost your 5-star reviews. So any problem that happens, they're trying to pick that apart, right? They're going through all the message threads of your e-concierge team. They're assessing them, reading through them for quality control, making sure nothing sticks out, and then making sure that your team is developing, right? Because think about the first time you hire a VA, whether it's, from Argentina or South America, somewhere else, or the Philippines, which is where we hire ours from. They're probably not going to message guests exactly like you want them to day one. So there's this whole training plan that we've built out internally. They go through a 2-week boot camp, and then they go through a whole escalation process with their pay and their responsibilities and what we expect of them. But as they go through that, right, they need that e-concierge manager, or you, right, if you don't have one, to make sure they're actually progressing and developing. So it just allows you to really start to make this a hospitality business. You get a lot more quality focused, your reviews get better, you do less work. So it's a really important function, especially if you want to scale the hotels, right? You can keep them as a side hustle with the STRs and not have a position like this, because sometimes those guests will be less needy. But with hotels, they expect more. The service needs to be higher, so you have to deliver on that in one way or the other. Now, I don't know about you guys, but when I went through this phase, was going through tier 2, the bookkeeping function, the accounting support was a huge time suck for me. So this is where you can start to outsource. And they're really going to manage all your numbers, right? Make sure invoices are getting paid, budgets are being met. And without this, you're really flying blind, or you're spending a lot of time doing it, right? You have to understand the cash flow of your business. And this is where you can start to get a lot off of your plate. So if you guys want a scalable business, not just a hobby, you'll need to build towards this. And that's what gets us to tier 3. So now we're dealing with big deals and portfolios that do $1 million+ per year in revenue and have 50+ doors. And this is where it starts to get really fun, because you can have functional leadership. So what do I mean by that? At this stage, it's no longer enough to just have general ops people running around and doing things. You need specialists leading specific pillars of your business. So this is where the functional leaders come into play, right? You're talking revenue managers, guest experience managers, director of operations if you don't have it yet, marketing potentially, right? Like all these things start to become divisions or functions of your business with a manager who's responsible of that function, because now you have enough demand, you have enough revenue, you have enough going on. It's an actual business. And this is the layer that transforms a hotel into a business, and that business into an asset. So here's the key functional leadership roles as I see them as you get to this phase. And number 1's a revenue manager, right? You're probably doing that before you have this, but they own all the pricing, the revenue optimization, the distribution channels, and all the yield management to maximize your top line, right? They're going through your listings, making sure they're performing, going through price labs, doing all your settings to make sure you're earning your goals and hitting your budget pro forma income. Then you have a guest experience manager. So they're going to oversee all the guest touch points to ensure these 5-star reviews, your reputation management, and your brand loyalty, right? This is what turns a guest into a repeat guest, into an ambassador that gets you more guests, because it's such an important function of the hospitality business. In those hotels, that you can have facilities or a maintenance manager, or just bring maintenance in-house finally and have that W-2 that you can dispatch out for everything. So they're going to ensure the physical property is maintained, well kept, right? That the major repairs are caught early. They're taking care of the asset. And what's really cool with this phase, when you bring somebody in-house, you can start to do deferred maintenance planning and have set times. Like every quarter, we're going to go through all our HVAC systems. Every, biannually, we're going to flush our hot water heaters and just make sure everything's run correctly, right? They're going to go through and make sure that repairs are being caught before they ever become a repair and impact your guest experience and cause refunds and cause, lost revenue, because they are working for the business full time. And it's a huge benefit when you get to that level. And depending on the size and the style of your hotel, you could even have a sales and event coordinator. So that's, optional based on the property type. But we have that at Tremont Lodge because we have 130 units plus the wedding and event venue. So with properties for event space and weddings and corporate bookings, someone needs to be 100% focused on driving that revenue, right? So not only are they booking weddings, but they're also taking corporate groups and like the SMERF booking title. So that's social, military, education, religious, and fraternity, right? Those bigger groups that are going to come book 20, 50, 60 plus room blocks at the hotel and book that many rooms in one booking. Somebody has to be cultivating that business. And that's huge because those could be $20,000 reservations, right? That you're not going to have otherwise. So it's really hard at a bigger hotel to book the rooms with just leisure travel, like all the people who book short-term rentals, because now you have a lot more units, a lot more inventory, and vacancy can be your silent killer. But when you have that big of a hotel, you also have this big opportunity to have somebody just focused on the group business. So that's where the sales and event manager comes in to drive a lot more revenue to your hotel. So really, tier 3 is where you stop operating a hotel like a side hustle and start running it like a real hospitality company. All right, so now let's talk about how these roles actually work together and make your hotel run like a machine, a very smooth, well-operated machine that doesn't take a lot out of you. So first, synergy is everything. I know it's a buzzword, but each person has to have their own lane, but also be working together. And the real magic is how fast and accurately they hand off between one another. So communication equals speed, right? And that speed equals good results for you. So great teams run on frictionless communication. So for us, we use tools like Slack and Asana and internal playbooks to cut down on wasted time and mistakes. And without those, we just don't really have a good way to communicate to achieve the business goals. And everything that we do, for the most part, is documented into a process so that if it's recurring, it's systematized, and that cuts out a lot of recurring workload. So when you hear like that synergy buzzword, think about what it actually means to have two teams, right? To have a revenue management function and a marketing function, and how they work together to earn more business at the hotel. Like those are the kinds of things you need around your hotel. And you as the entrepreneur are kind of like the hub to that, right? And your different divisions are the spokes around the wheel. And then you think as that wheel turns, it builds momentum, right? And then you climb. So the analogy goes, you're the hub here, and then you have your different functional leaders, and you are really just kind of like the conductor, making sure that all the business goals are met. You're keeping your managers accountable to getting their jobs done. And you can't have these lone rangers, right? So everyone knows who's responsible for what, and it should be that way. So it makes no confusion. And then because of that, there's no chaos. So we run on EOS from the book Traction, and we have clear goals and tasks that need to be accomplished to achieve those goals, with accountability assigned to getting those tasks done, with clear KPIs telling us how well that we're performing on accomplishing those tasks. So that's how a business operating a system works, right? You have clear goals, clear accountability, you measure what matters, and then manage to the goal. So it comes back around. And when you do that, the systems create freedom. And if you don't build systems, your business will always be reliant on you, and you're going to be the bottleneck. Now, without structure, even the best hires are going to fail. So with the right structure, good hires can become rock stars, and your business runs super smooth because they have that system to really foster and develop them. So here, I want you guys to think systems over superstars, right? You've got to build the great system to cultivate good people. And then once it's built, you can attract in top talent. And I told you guys I was going to give you the goods. So here's how you build a back-end team that can actually grow with your business. So this is the exact framework that I use to hire as I grew from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3. So when I think about this pyramid, I think about the base as your absolute essential functions, right? If you want to make it a business. So At that level, you have to have your admin outsourced. And the cheapest and easiest way to do that is with your VAs and with your e-concierge team, and maybe with like an operations specialist, right? Maybe that's an EA that you pay a little bit more and they're handling more of the admin that you touch personally, kind of like a mix of an assistant, but also for the business as well. So you're getting the admin out of place so you can focus on growth and you don't get wrapped up in all the, the day-to-day crap that goes on. Now, as you work your way up to the pyramid and you got in that second level, now you've got property staff. So that's where you can have a property manager or location manager or whatever you want to call them, but they're the person that becomes the filter for you at that hotel or in that location if you have, two smaller hotels that are operating there. So at that level, that property manager and your property staff are now handling most of what's going on. And that kind of, as the pyramid goes up, your revenue at the property is going up as well, right? So at this mid-level, you can operate a hotel almost anywhere, right? You don't have to be in the market. At the base level, because you don't have the filters, right? The people who are the filters, because you can't afford them yet, you have to be around that hotel or have somebody that, is maybe equity or is not paid that is doing it. So as you go up, you get more freedom and, you outsource more of the work. Now, as you get to the peak of the triangle, that's where you get the functional responsibility. And you can have a director of operations, right? A revenue manager, a guest experience manager, all the managers, and with the director of operations really leading them and leading the team. And you pretty much at that point, like me, when I built up the last portfolio, you work for 4 to 6 hours a week. You have your L10 meeting, which comes from EOS, and maybe a tag up meeting with your managers or another functional manager if you have a lot of ownership in that department. But as you go up, that's where you start to take things off your plate. And this pyramid perfectly exemplifies, as you scale, as you work up the pyramid, you outsource yourself, get time back, your time becomes more valuable, and you can focus on the growth. And the good thing for you is you don't have to hire everyone at once. Just systematically work your way up this pyramid and outsource as you go. And you just stack your team like you stack your revenue, one strategic hire at a time. And here's what I've learned along the way that will make you even better at this and help you get you there faster with less headaches along the way. So at the start is hire for core values first, because the skill can be trained, but alignment with your brand's DNA cannot. So hospitality experience and tech savviness and problem solving, those are like non-negotiables, but you can't, embody character traits to people. They have to have them already, and that's where your core values say,
hey, this is what we're about. If you don't meet this, you can't really fit in with us.
And then you have to define clear roles. So every team member needs a scoreboard that they own, or at least a metric from that scoreboard that they're assigned to and accountable for. So you can't have overlap, no guessing. For example, my director of operations owns the OPR, or overall property rating. And what the overall property rating is our guest review score out of 5 from all of our channels that tell us how well we're performing. So if we aren't taking care of guests and providing a good place to stay for what they're paying, then our scores are going to be lower. And when we meet or exceed expectations, our scores are going to be higher, right? And there's a lot wrapped into that, and a lot of departments who touch on the guest satisfaction. So it's up to the DO to integrate, and all the work being done, for the quality and, being on time and being guest focused is done by them. So it's things like that, right? With those big things that need to get done in your business, like OPR, or maybe it's your revenue or your occupancy or whatever. Somebody has to own that metric, and you have to measure them based on their performance on meeting that metric. And then as you go along, don't complicate things. Use simple, scalable systems. So we use Slack for daily comms. You can use Asana or ClickUp for task or project management. And then you can use shared Google Drives for document control, and then even go a step further and use something like Notion, which is a mind map where we have all of our business structure in. So Google Drive is like the file storage, and Notion is like the usage of that. So speed and clarity win every time. So simple, scalable systems. That's what you need to be thinking about and using in your business so your team can, wrap their heads around it, know how you guys actually execute, because the systems that you guys use, the technology, is just to support the function that needs done. So don't overcomplicate it, right? We need to get this thing done. Asana helps us get that thing done. Then use that. And here's a bonus tip for you guys. Document everything as SOPs or standard operating procedures. So if you have a way to pay your transit occupancy tax, for example, to the city or to the county each month, document it and then record yourself doing it and make a step-by-step written process as well, because different team members will learn better, be able to follow the process better in different ways. And then do that for every function in your business. That is how you build something bulletproof, something that lasts, and something that you can step away from to get your time back, and ultimately something that's saleable when you think about how this business goes and what your ultimate exit is. All right, so here's how to make an operational bulletproof boutique hotel that runs without you and even grows on its own. So you gotta build the right size team for your deal size. Then you gotta get the right people in the right seats, communicating the right way, and then focus on systems over superheroes, because you can attract and hire really great and expensive talent later on once you have built something good enough that will attract them in the first place. And that's through solid SOPs and business system structure. And believe me guys, your back-end ops team isn't just important, it's your ticket to scale and more profit without losing your mind along the way. If you want the full blueprint of exactly how I built my boutique hotel portfolio and scaled a real ops company behind it, you can check out my boutique hotel mastermind at the link below. And if you guys found this helpful, smash the like button and drop a comment, because I read every single one of them and I'll reply if you have questions on this stuff. So with that, I'll see you guys on the next one.